back to the season 2 finale of Jason Unleashed. Wow. Over 100 episodes. Season 2 comes to an end today with an incredible guest. She is an E-News correspondent. She's a co-host of Daily Pop. Carissa Culiner is on the show today, and I couldn't be more excited because I am obsessed. I watch her daily. I've watched her for years. An incredible woman, an incredible mother, an incredible talent, and she's here today closing out season 2 of Jason Unleashed. Waiting for her to step into the room. Hi, everyone. I see all your highs. Let me just start waving at people. Magenta. Hi, Magenta. Hey, let's see, boom, if Carissa's here yet. She hasn't stepped in the room yet, but she's coming in just a second. Thank you, Derek. Oh my gosh, it's been an incredible week. That debate, you guys, what is going on? What was going on, right? I wish I could talk about it now because I have thoughts, as the rest of the country has thoughts too. But nonetheless, Carissa should be here in just a second. Let me see if she said hi already. Yep, there she is. Boom. Carissa Culiner. Guys, she's incredible. It's going to be fun.
Fun show.
Oh, wow.
Hi. Quick, right?
Like you had to accept me.
I accept you and I see you, Carissa.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I was like, I thought it was like, oh, I've got time to adjust my light. No. It is what it is. Let's do this.
Well, no, adjust your light. We got time. Get ready. I have time. Look, I feel you. The lighting situation is always a situation.
Man, and I have this ring light thingamajiggy, but I don't really know how to get like the perfect lighting. It is what it is. Anyways, how are you?
Good. First of all, welcome to Jason Unleashed. Glad to have you. Good to see you. Thank you for being on my show. A lot of back and forth with PR, but we made it happen.
Yeah, I know. I had an insane month last month. It was just a lot going on. So this is perfect. And then I'm like quarantining this week. So I was like, this week's perfect.
Perfect. Well, the universe. Peyton Herzog's in the chat. Hi, Peyton. First of all, how are you and how's Culiner doing? I know you said you're quarantining. How's everything going?
Everybody's doing good. We still feel healthy. We have no reason to think we're positive, but we are just staying home just in case. We're almost up on our 14 days of quarantining. And so, I've been just kind of working from home, which really isn't too hard. I just have to track a few things here and there because most of our stuff is at the studio at work, the show. So, so we're fine. Shannon and I both took a test yesterday, so we'll see what those results are. But we are expecting a negative. We're expecting a negative.
And you know, and we're sending out the love and vibes for that to happen. Good for you guys. I'm glad everyone's doing great. Congratulations on Zoe Grace, beautiful baby girl, born in April. Look, everyone always asks, how does it feel being a new mom again? But really, being a new mom again in 2020 amidst something that has never happened in our lifetime, how have you been able to wrap your head around all of that, Carissa? Because I'm sure you're fearful for not only you, Chase's, and Shannon's life, but your new baby's life with this new evil that we've never had to deal with before. How did you tackle that?
Well, I've calmed down a lot, but I will say, like, my anxiety was through the roof, especially at the end of the pregnancy. So, when did everything really shut down? Like March, yeah. In April. So, I mean, I was in that last month. I mean, the extreme we were going to avoid this virus was over the top. I mean, like, my husband was taking it very seriously. We've calmed down a lot since then, but I mean, I literally wasn't allowed to touch anything outside our house, and even though we weren't leaving our house, we were still like wiping down nonstop. We're like, I don't know what we're even wiping down, considering like we haven't left the house, what germs could be in here. But nonetheless, we were just like so extreme because I was just so paranoid. And my biggest fear was not that I thought like I was so scared of what would happen to Zoe, because the studies had showed that majority of the time it didn't transfer to your child when you're pregnant. It was more or less the scare of if you had corona and you gave birth, they were going to take your baby from you and separate you until you, and I think that's still the protocol. I think they separate the baby from you so that you don't give the baby corona. And that was very, very scary to me because having been through that with Chase, like that's the most precious, most insanely memorable time, you know, and to possibly lose that was my biggest fear. So luckily all went good and it was fine. And then we had her And then it was very hard not being able to introduce her to like grandma,
Yes,
and
right.
uncles and things like that. Like stuff like my mom would have been here, right? Like she would have been here for the birth. She would have been here for the first couple weeks to help us out. And so since she wasn't, that stank. But we were fine. Luckily, it was my second baby, and it is a big deal. Like if it's your first baby, that's even harder. Luckily, being your second baby, you're like, I know what's gonna happen. Like you're kind of prepared for what to do. So it wasn't so overwhelming. And in fact, that actual alone time as just being a family of four was kind of nice.
Right.
You know, you can find something beautiful in that, you know. But eventually she did get to meet all of her grandparents. In fact, she just met her grandfather on her dad's side just a couple weeks ago. And so like now everybody's met her, which is well, not everybody, but I mean, as far as like immediate family goes, everybody has met her. And yeah, and so it's been good, but there is like a heaviness for sure. You're definitely concerned, and we're just trying not to like focus on it too much and just
keep it going.
But
right.
Yeah, what can you do?
What can you do? You are fascinating, and I'm gonna get to why you're fascinating in just a few, but on the subject of you being a mom, you're so giving of your life as a mother. I think that's one of the most refreshing and enduring and compelling things about you, Carissa. And I've watched you for years. I watch you daily, as a matter of fact. And I think the relatability, I hate using that word relatability because like relatable, but what makes you such a joy is that you're so giving of you being a mom with your mom to mom segments and show. What made you want to be as open with your life, with your public when it comes to that? Because some people in the business, you know, this business is crappy, right? You want to protect as much as you can because you work so hard and things are sacred, but you give so openly of yourself as a mother. What made you want to make that choice and stand by that wholeheartedly? Because I think you do such an incredible job of taking people on the journey of motherhood, especially in your life.
You know what? I go back and forth. I will say, like, sometimes I share more and sometimes I don't. And the thing that gets me to share more is usually the feedback I get from followers or viewers that say, like, thank you for saying how your kid doesn't sleep through the night at 5 months old because my kid doesn't either. And I feel like all I ever see on Instagram is people bragging about the highs. And, you know, it gets to be, and I feel like that too. I sit there and I'll go through Instagram and I'm just a normal person too. I'm like scrolling through and just seeing like, gosh, I mean, really their child's doing that, or, oh, and that's going so well. And you get into this comparison game, which I know we preach, don't do it, but it just happens. And there's just, to me, like, there's nothing, I don't want to share everything because, you know, I respect my kids' privacy in the sense, like, I'm not trying to, like, I don't want people to feel like they really know everything about Chase. Because, you know, that's his story to tell. But when it comes to basically going back on me, like in my motherhood journey and how I'm feeling and how I'm struggling, like, I don't mind sharing that because that's what connects us. And usually I get a lot of help feedback, to be honest. Like yesterday, I just was talking about this week about how I'm trying to like move the kids into the same bedroom. It's been a story. It's been a situation. It's not been super easy. And I got an insane amount of feedback from people, and it just was very helpful to me, truthfully. Like, I kind of self-serving in that way. I shared it because I needed the advice. It was a 1-800-mom helpline.
Right.
That like you struggle with as a mom, but there's not. And the next best thing sometimes is asking a massive amount of people and just being like, hey, surely one of you have gone through this. What did you do?
Right.
You know? And
that's what social media is for. Yeah.
So really, it's not like a big conscious decision I have. And then there's times where I'll feel like, okay, I'm kind of sharing too much. Maybe I'll button it up. And then I go back and forth.
Yeah. Well, I think it's refreshing and it's endearing and it's so relatable and it's comforting, if that's weird, but it's like, it's nice to see someone as successful as you are and someone who is loved and just comes into our homes, our television screens, our smartphone screens every day, just being normal and being cool. And I think that's why audiences love you. I say you're fascinating, not because you're hyper talented, but because the way you came up in this business. Jefferson City's finest, Missouri, Jefferson City, Missouri's finest, right here. Walk us through how Carissa Culiner ends up on one of the most heralded entertainment platforms in the world. How did you arrive and get there, and the journey, the highs, the lows, the ebbs and the flows? Because it's not easy.
You know, as everybody who's done this, it's a long story, but I will give you the concise version. But I started in country radio.
Love it.
You know what? I'm going to say, like, I started by doing internships. I really, honestly, my career is pretty traditional. I think compared to a lot of people, I really kind of like worked my way up. You know, I did this and I did that. So I started with trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life because I had no clue in college, and I interned at a TV station, radio station, and then doing just some PR. And I realized, okay, I love radio and I love TV too, but at first, like, radio was just so fun to me.
It is.
So I started doing that part-time in college. When I graduated, I got offered a morning show position full-time. It just was serendipitous how it happened. An opening happened, and it wasn't even on. It was in Jefferson City at a smaller station, and then I got promoted to be on a bigger station. Loved every second of that. Started doing local news part time. On top of that, just kind of being what they called like a VJ at the time. I'm not sure if it exists, but it was like, hey, you just watched The Big Bang Theory, and
right? Yeah.
Is
the bumps. They call them bump the bumps. So you would bump out to commercial. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want to call that. That was like a thing. I'm not sure they still do that, but they did that back then. So that little bit of experience, and that was actually a really good experience for me because it was so funny because they would literally be like, okay, you've got 15 seconds to fill and you're shooting about 50 of these and you have about 4 seconds of copy. So I had 10 seconds to come up with something fun or creative for 60 different spots, right? Because you wanted them to be slightly entertaining. It didn't have to be anything big, but you have 10 seconds. And so that was actually really good training for me because I'm like, how do I fill 10 seconds different for 60 different spots and have nothing else to say? But anyways, so that was kind of like a fun job. Anyways, that led me to being exposed to an online news company called Newsy, where I became a managing editor there. And that was really fun. I worked with AOL, mostly was my partnership, and I managed 2 series there, Morning Rush and TV Replay. That was awesome. Learned a lot about writing and producing and editing there. Then I got my agent at the time, and he introduced me to a lot of TV networks, but he is the one that, like, really, whenever we met, we felt like there was something happening there. Like, they called me back the next day and was like, hey, come back. An audition. And I auditioned and I failed and it was awful. And I did not get the job.
You failed, but okay, hold on, let's talk about that, because failing, here you have the holy grail. You go in. What do you mean by failing? Were you not present? Describe that. Like, what did failing look like that day?
Okay, so because so I had no clue what to expect. They said, come on tomorrow. We want to put you on tape. Here's a couple scripts that we're probably going to read. I said, okay. So me coming from radio, I thought, look, I'm not an actress. I'm not going to memorize these. There'll be a teleprompter and I'll just, do it. I'm familiar with them, but I'm not going to memorize them. Well, I get there and they're like, ugh, our teleprompter just broke. Sorry.
Shade.
Go ahead and just do it off the cuff. And I was like, right, sure. And my mind, of course, goes blank, and I'm just like, well, and, it's so funny because actually on the last day of E! News, they were showing like our audition tapes and stuff, and they showed it, and like in hindsight, I wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but at the time, I think you know, it ended up probably being a blessing in disguise, because at the time I was in the training of like, oh no, I need to make sure I hit every word correctly, because otherwise it's false information and this is news, and it is news, but you could always use your own words. And it was like and that's what I did, because I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't remember the exact words, which is exactly probably what they were looking for. Instead of like, in my head though, I thought, oh my gosh, I totally botched this because I don't remember exactly what I was supposed to say, and I probably got a fact wrong here or there, but I didn't, I guess, or I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter, because I didn't get the job. They ended up hiring somebody who had way more experience than me, and I was like, okay, no problem, you know. I still felt like it was a good go. I just didn't get the job. So I went back to Newsy, did that for a year, and really practiced, because you also have to remember, at this time I'd only worked on camera for like 5 months maybe, so I was very green, right? I didn't even have a whole lot of experience. And so of course I had TV, and I had a little bit of that TV stuff, and I had radio, a lot of radio experience, but like delivering scripts and stuff I hadn't had a whole lot of experience with. And so anyways, a year goes by, and that person who had the job, Liz Hernandez, if you know who that is.
Well, yeah, we love Liz.
Job. And so she left. She was like, I'm going to go move on to do something else. And they called me and said, hey, will you come audition for a week? So I was like very excited, and came back. It actually ended up having to, in order to do that audition, I had to sacrifice my job at Newsy, which was very risky for me.
I know that feeling.
Very, very scared to do that.
I
ended up losing a lot by doing that, but it worked out, because I auditioned and I got the job, and they moved me to LA, and started in digital, then moved my way up to being on E! News, co-hosted on E! News several times, then Daily Pop happened, and been on Daily Pop ever since, and now we're on season 4. So
which is incredible. And when Carissa, your story is, you have a lot of faith, because I totally get where Newsy, right? That was something that was solid, right? Something that was built, that was familiar, that felt good, that you're like, this is what I do. Then you get the call a year later from something you thought, oh, was a fluke. Like, nah, that came and went.
Yeah.
And you had to wrestle with, okay, do I take that leap, right? But you took that leap before going to college at Santa Monica Community College in LA, going back to Jefferson City, going into radio and saying, hey, I love to do this, which, by the way, for everyone's watching, radio is not easy. Radio is harder than television, because all you have is your voice and that connection with an audience of people who live, eat, and sleep radio. It's so hard to be amazing on radio. It really is.
It is, but there is a plus, because I can fake energy with a voice that it is much harder to fake energy showing your whole face.
A visual, right, 100%.
I'm so tired, I could fall asleep. I could at least sound more awake on radio. On TV,
you can.
You have to actually look awake, which is a lot harder.
Well, you end up on television, but that was never really your goal, really. I mean, you like going back to graduating from Mizzou for your senior year of college, having that professor tell you that, you know what, you want to do entertainment journalism, this is not the school, which Mizzou is the up there for journalism and for churning out incredible journalists. Michelle Turner, Lauren Zima, the list goes on and on. But here you are at E! And you get the job. How did your life change then? And what were some of the challenges you had to face? Because people think when you get that incredible job, it's smooth sailing. They don't realize what comes with that package.
Oh, yeah. No, it's been a long journey, you know. When I first started at E! You have to remember, I came from working at Newsy, which, like I said, and it was a smaller business. And so we did everything. We wrote, we edited, we produced, we anchored. We did it all. And so when I came to E! I was like so gung-ho on like showing all of those skills, and it was kind of like, slow down, Missy. Like, I know you think you can do it all, but you're at E! now, and you know, we do things a little differently here. And so eventually I did write and I did produce for E! And and stuff like that. But I, in the beginning, was like, do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that? Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do this? And they were like, you need to still prove yourself. Like, I know we hired you, but you still need to prove yourself a little bit, you know? I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. I mean, they didn't say it like that. They said it
Right.
like that, but it was kind of one of those, like, just slow your roll, girl. Like, we'll use you, you know? And so I did. I had to kind of, like, earn my way up, and then I started asking for particular interviews, asking to be a part of these things. Like, you had to voice it, right? Like, it's
right.
Like people were just offering me up things, you know. They're the work to get onto the camera or onto the show. And then when I got onto the show, it was like always saying yes and always being available to fill in whenever you can. You know, if one of the co-hosts, you know, called out sick that day and they wanted me to be there, no matter what my plans were, I was like, absolutely, yes.
Yes, I love that.
And so I was available. I was always there. And then they started, the more you do it, the more they trust you, the more they know that, like, you know what, Carissa can do this, so we're going to rely on her a little bit more. And then you just kind of have to keep doing that. And then obviously it got to a point where they trusted me enough to give me daily pop. So, and so whenever they told me about that show, I was so excited because it was a new way of delivering the news. And not only that, but it's like a show that really shows your personality. And it's not, you know, E-News, we got like a little bit of time, but we jam-packed so much into that show that it wasn't always conversation-based. It became a little more conversation-based after it grew. But when I first started, it wasn't. It was a lot of like, get to this package, get to that package, get to that package. And then it evolved to be more conversational. But then when Daily Pop launched, we're trying a whole new approach to entertainment news with this show. And it's all about the conversation and opening up and being, you know, real with the audience. And that was very exciting, but also intimidating to me because you're kind of like, okay, how much do I want to share, you know? And then you kind of just get more comfortable the more you do it. And then you're like, I'll just share everything.
Right. Well, but that's but also because you have an opportunity, a unique opportunity, Carissa, to connect and it's like the freaking View. It's a pie. There's so many pieces of the pie, and the people that watch are here for Carissa's piece of the pie. And we only want to, if Carissa says that Taylor Swift is a victim, then damn it, Carissa said it, Taylor Swift's a victim. That's it, right? Because the audiences love and they connect with you on that level. And that was new for E. I even tested for that show. It was new for E. It was a whole different way of delivering entertainment news in an industry that was shifting. But with that said, your personality comes out. Also, your opinion comes out. In our culture, people hate your opinion or they love your opinion. Were you afraid of giving your opinion and backlash?
Oh gosh, yeah. And it's happened. I've gotten a lot of backlash over the years for things that I've said. I mean, you do start to get a little thicker skin about that because you just have to, like, the one thing that I would say is, like, for everybody, you know, I'm very open-minded. I consider myself to be, at least. I try to be. I shouldn't say I'm very open-minded. I say I try to be very open-minded. I'm always willing to, like, hear other point of views. And that's the beauty of, like, me, Justin, and Morgan, is that we honestly disagree naturally on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And that makes me no difference in my opinion of them. I love them to death, but we do have, like, this relationship where we can literally be on complete opposite ends of the spectrum on a particular subject. But at the end of the day, we walk away and they're still one of my closest friends, you know, so it's not like it affects our friendship in any way, shape, or form. And in that, we have each other's backs too.
Right.
When it comes to the backlash, because we can get off the air, and as soon as we get off the air, you know, they may be like, good luck today, because we know that we're going to get heat for something we said, or, you know, vice versa. I'll say, like, don't listen to it. Don't get on your Twitter today. You're not going to win today. So just and tomorrow is another day.
Right.
And
right.
So, you know, I think that you can get nervous, but then you do have to get over that, because if you don't have an opinion on anything, then it's really hard for people to relate to you, because if you're just that person that says, like, Well, it could be good and it could be bad, and you don't really have a stance on things. And I will say, like, I knowingly have been like that on some subjects for sure, because sometimes it's hard to have a strong opinion because I don't really know
Of
how I feel
course.
about it.
Right.
I need more time than like the hour I've had to prep for the show to decide how
Absolutely.
I feel about something. But most of the time, it's like it's good to have a solid opinion because it helps people, especially whenever we have different opinions, because it helps people really think about how they really truly feel. And I take no offense to people disagreeing with me at all. Like, I mean, as long as they're respectful. I mean, obviously, if they just
Of course.
be hateful to me, then they be hateful to me. But like, I get all the time that comments that'll say like, "Hey, I heard you on Daily Pop say this. Like, you're crazy. I don't know what you're thinking." And I'm like, okay. I mean, I get it. Totally, that's fine. I still love you. Thank you. I have no hate there. I mean, I'm fine with people disagreeing with me. It actually it's good for me.
It helps you grow. And to mention about your relationship with Morgan and Justin, or honestly, Carissa, anyone you're on air with, I think there's something to be said about, as you said, having your co-hosts back. Just if for people that are watching, we're going to go inside baseball when it comes to hosting. A good host is in the chair with another host to help each other shine for the audience, right? So when you realize that it's not about you, it's about the people that are watching, and you do have your host back, it comes across so much more amazingly on camera because you're there, you're present, you are in the zone. I don't know how to explain it. And I think that's one of the reasons why Daily Pop has been so successful. Why it's now an hour, then half an hour, and why people really are obsessed and they look for, like, I walk my dog 3 times a day. I watch Daily Pop live on air. Then when I walk my dog, I watch every YouTube post because I always miss something, or I want to hear an opinion again, or there's something about just watching it back there, like, oh my gosh, you can really digest it all. And there's nothing like it on television either. It's really cool.
All I can think about is that you walk your dog 3 times a day, and that makes me feel like an asshole of a dog mom. Because I'm happy if my dogs run walk a day. I never out. They pee. I don't know, walk or not.
I don't have kids though, Carissa. You have actual humans. I don't. So she's my puppy baby. I gotta do something with her. I can't let her just sit on her ass all day.
Age where that can be his thing. I'm gonna be like, walk the dog. Walk the dog.
It'll be incredible. I love my dog. Dogs are like better than humans. But you, as I said, you're fascinating, and I mean that in every sense of the word, because there's something about you. There's a warmth to you that clearly is your Midwest charm in an industry that tries to strip that away from you. That tells you, Carissa, you need to be this. Carissa, you need to be that. How do you hold on to that? How do you hold on to that, which I think is one of your most compelling attributes? How do you protect that and stay true to Carissa Culiner?
That's really sweet of you to say, first of all. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I will say I did lose it for a while. I did lose it. There was a time when there were a lot of opinions on how Daily Pop should have been ran from people who worked there at the time. And I'd get a lot of feedback. And sometimes there was a lot of feedback of saying, like, let's just say it like this. I was listening to too many voices, right?
Yeah.
Too many people giving me too much opinion about how I was supposed to be on the show. And I lost myself for a while. I really did. I felt like I was meaner, I was colder, I was harsher. And I don't know. It just like hit me one day where I was like, man, if I don't feel good about who I am right now, I don't care if it's like supposed to help the ratings being this way or whatever. Because there was a time too, like, and everything's calmed down, right? Especially in 2020. And I mean, people are just genuinely ready for like that warmth and that niceness and that like comfortability. But like, there was a time when, and it wasn't just Daily Pop, I mean, at all. It was a lot. It was all the shows that were like a talkative format, that they were just, it was about like attacking each other, not just like just really that strong opinion to the point where like you don't even want to hear the other person talk. And I know that there's a lot of that in politics right now, but I'm talking about like just even on entertainment based shows or sports based shows or whatever. It was like defend your opinion to the death of you, and get into it and fight with each other, and turning stuff into like this like fake reality show. I don't know, there was just this time where that was like the mentality of like that's what you needed to have to be successful, and we never really went far down that road. I mean, I never, like I said, Justin and Morgan and I have always been close and friends, and have always walked off the set still being friends.
Right.
But we would sometimes get advice to maybe not be so friendly all the time.
Right. No, makes sense. I get it.
Long story short, you listen to so many opinions, and you just have to like have an honest conversation with yourself and say like, look, I need to be me, because that is the one way like I'm 100% me, and I can keep myself in check and like not let myself get too Hollywood or get too caught up in like what I think I need to be. Then I will be more successful this way. The show will be more successful this way. People will see you, and they'll like you or they won't, but you'll be happy with yourself. And I think that's like, it just came down to, maybe it was getting pregnant, with Chase or whatever, that made me feel like I needed to have, just be very in tune with who I am and not let anybody change me for any reason. That's kind of, I think, where it comes down to, is just like at the end of the day, when this is all said and done, when I'm off television, I got to be happy with who I am, who I've portrayed myself to be, and staying authentic to me. Otherwise, I'm the one that has to live with this facade that I've created about myself, and I don't want to live a facade. I want you to meet me on the street, and I'd be the same person that you watch on TV. Like, I don't want anybody thinking like it's two different people. Does that make sense?
Right. 100%. And no. And that's, Chris, I don't know if you remember, me and you had a long conversation at a Grammys red carpet in 2019. You had this beautiful bone straight bob in this dress that was killing it. But what you just said is exactly what I walked away from when I met you for that first time, is that you were the same person. You're on this red carpet with stars, people recognizing you, taking pictures, saying, Carissa, like, and you still took time to be present with me and have a conversation. And I think that's what is so also fascinating about you. I think you're absolutely accomplishing that, and it shows on television. And look, this is my show. I can give all the compliments I want, but it's the truth. And so congratulations for realizing that in an industry that tries to make you not see that, and for knowing better, because I think that's the reason why the show is so successful, is because of that authenticity. It's because you, for what all intents and purposes, stood up for yourself and said, I'm going to be Carissa Renee Culiner, and do me. Y'all need to be okay with that. And if you're not, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. And look,
honestly, like, the show just got so much better from the point on, and I learned that a lot from even just like Morgan coming on, because Morgan is like one of my favorite people, because she doesn't even know how to be anybody else. Morgan is Morgan 100% of the time. She is easy. And so I love that about her, and I think that comes from her different pathway onto the show, right? She got famous for being who she is, and she always is who she is, and that's like what I love about her, And so, so yeah. Anyways, long story short, I try to be warm, but don't get me wrong. I have my bitchy days. You can ask Justin, you can ask Morgan, and you can ask.
It's okay.
You can ask. You can ask someone in customer service, especially if you're a Wi-Fi or internet company or a cable company
or Postmates.
Company. I am not the friendliest person on the phone.
Shout out to Usai, the photographer, world-renowned photographer. He's watching right now. He's a huge fan. Hey, Usai, he's awesome. Carissa, balance, right? Balance. You're a mom of two, a young baby, toddlers. You're a wife. You have this incredible career. Strip all that away. How do you practice self-care, one, and how do you balance or find balance, or do you find balance? Is it just like, forget it, balance is out the door?
Balance is out the door. You don't worry about it. You don't beat yourself up over it, because there are some weeks, it's funny, like, I say don't beat yourself up over it, but yet I've been like kind of sad ever since I got back to work. Chase has been like daddy's boy, and it's kind of getting at me. I mean, it's like, I want daddy, and I'm like, no, you want mommy, you're mommy. But I get it. It's fine. They go in phases. I'm cool with it. But no, it's like there's balance, right? I mean, but at the same time, there's not. Like, there's just going to be times where like work wins. There's going to be time when family wins
Right.
and they need you. And, you know, there's been times when I've missed important events or I've said no to big interviews because I just couldn't do it. I had to be there for my kids. And then there's other things where I feel like my husband has felt like a single parent, you know, for like a week straight because I was so busy. And that makes me feel really guilty too. And so you definitely put and it's also like stressful too because you're always trying to give your best, and that's one thing why moms are always so tired is because after you've like worked all day, then you get home and then you feel like your second job starts. It doesn't feel like, oh, now I'm home. Now it's like, okay,
Right.
now I got to give my all to my kids because you feel like, oh, I've been gone all day and I haven't seen them much this week, and so you're like going over and above beyond, like, okay, sure, I'm exhausted, but let's do that art project, okay? And then you're like, this is gonna take forever, it's gonna be a mess. But so it's kind of, I don't really have a good answer to that. I just do what I have to do and I live my life. And if it's a day that like I'm exhausted, then, you know, maybe I'll just like put on a movie and just let myself relax. And that's how my self-care is really. It's just like recognizing whenever I feel extremely overwhelmed and pause and just, you know, rest, relax for a minute, and then look at things with fresh eyes and just start checking stuff off one by one by one, and not getting overwhelmed about the 25 things on my list, and just focus on 5, get 5 done, call it a day, go to bed early. You'll maybe get 3 done tomorrow. You know, I don't know. It's just like slowing down, and don't like set huge expectations on yourself, because whenever you have yourself thinking you're going to do all of these things and then it falls through, then that's when you feel guilty. So it's almost like set your standards low and then maybe you'll exceed them. Maybe you won't, but at least you're like still being a pretty good mom and you're being
Agreed. Look, aim for the stars. If you land amongst the clouds. But hey, it's a real answer. You're such a Pisces. You're so intuitive. You know thyself. And in 2020, one thing we've been able to do is really get to know ourselves again and again and again, because we've had the time throughout it all, throughout giving birth and having this incredible year. If you look back at everything that's happened, what have you learned about yourself that's been like, wow, I never knew I had this in me, or wow, I never knew I needed to work on this? What have been the biggest revelations that Carissa Culiner has walked away from till now, October in 2020?
I will say the one thing that I realized was I have way more anxiety than I thought I did.
Okay, sure.
I thought I always had it in check. And you know what? I went through this when I was like 25 and I started my job at radio. And I was really, really poor. And I was in an apartment with no windows and super depressed and working like 12-hour days. And it was just like, I remember being like, I'm fine. I'm good. And then I started getting like all of these situations. Like my hair was falling out. I was breaking out with acne. I was getting like cold sores. I forgot I'm saying I was 3, but I got like in like a year, which is stress induced.
Right.
And I was like, finally was talking to the doctor, and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking I'm stressed. I'm thinking I'm not dealing with my stress well, because I didn't see you about 10 times this year. And I kind of like, and then I thought I got it under control. It's kind of more like a situational thing. But then I think this year was like the same way. I mean, I had so much anxiety at the beginning of the pandemic, being pregnant and not knowing what to expect and giving birth and all of that stuff. It was really overwhelming at certain times. And there were moments when I would just like cry. I would just like break down and cry, and I just needed to let it out. And then there were times I still had it. Like I got so overwhelmed. Like I was just talking about the other day, I mentioned on the pub, it was like Monday afternoon. I was like, felt like I was having a panic attack because I had so much on my plate, and I was just felt like balls were falling all over the place. Like I was just letting things drop, and anyways. And then again, like that's just whenever I like let out a good cry and, reset and lower my expectations for myself and like shorten that to-do list just day by day. So anyways, so I guess the one thing I learned about myself is I do have more anxiety than I realized, and I need to do things to keep that in check, otherwise it can consume me. And then what was the other question?
No, that was it. What you learned about yourself, and I'm glad, and I'm glad that you're touching on mental health, because again, people probably look at you and think her life's perfect, glamour, television, beautiful family, but they don't realize that mental health and mental illness. I'm saying that you have mental illness, but anxiety is considered a mental ailment. Doesn't have a face. It's all of our faces, right? I'm glad you're talking about that, because it's debilitating. And it's a conversation that more people want to have and want to reveal, but they're afraid because they're afraid of the stigma that, unfortunately, in 2020, people still have a stigma when it comes to mental health. So thank you for revealing that. And for sure, I'm glad.
I mean, I think anxiety is it's just one of the things, and also it kind of comes with postpartum too, because I had it after Chase too, where they said I shouldn't diagnose it as postpartum anxiety, because that's typically whenever your anxiety is so bad it keeps you from doing things. But like in general, a lot of times new moms, because of their hormones, have just more anxiety, and because of the fact that they have a new baby they're trying to keep alive, and there's like all these risks, SIDS and things like that, that you just have a lot more anxiety. You have a lot more to worry about, right? Life was simple before you had a baby, or now have two babies. Life was simpler. Now it's not. So it's a lot to take on.
There's a lot to take on. Again, back to me saying how fascinating you are, Carissa. I think your fans, your followers, people love you because of that strength, and you are more than just this talk show host. And I'm glad that people are able to see that about you. And I think that you keep on delivering that, even if you don't know you're doing it, you're doing it. So kudos to you. And the sky's the limit. Of course, the sky's the limit. What does the future hold? And would you walk away from it all? Would you hang up your mic one day and be like, I'm exiting stage left?
Yeah, I would. I would, if it felt right for my family at the time. I'm not there right now, but I feel like if that was the right situation for my family, I would. Because like you said, I never like dreamt of being on television. It just kind of like worked out, and I just love what I do. I've always loved my jobs. Like I loved radio. I loved it because I love my coworkers. I love Newsy because I love my coworkers. It's like if you can get, and I love Daily Pop because I love my coworkers. Like if you get up and you like love like being around the people that you work with every day, it's like life is good. Life is good. You don't like hate going to work. It sucks whenever you work at a place where it's like completely toxic all the time.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Those people in and out of every job I've had those people. But you know, if your core people are cool, then it really makes all the difference. And I do love what I do, and I'm not ready to, you know, hang up the hat just yet. I'm definitely happy to do this for as long as I can, but I know there will be a time where it feels right to walk away.
Right.
You know, and I'll know it whenever it happens, but hopefully not anytime soon.
Yeah, well, we no. Oh, yes, we need you. I need you on Daily Pop. I need you. No, you can't go. I'll find you. You can't go anywhere. You're so many things. You're so many things, Carissa. Your evolution from when you came to E, and just as I've done my research on you, and as I followed you through the years, your evolution has been so incredible to see. I love to ask this question to my guests, because it makes people think about who they are now as a person. If someone came up to Carissa Culiner and said, Carissa, describe who you are as a woman. What are your values? What's your foundation? What would you tell them?
That's a good question. Well, family is my number one, 100%. Family and friends always have been my number one. If I don't have them, then I am miserable, right? Like if you have like a fight with your best friend, it's like, to me, or if I have a fight with my husband, I've had to explain to him, like, you need to like do that whole like we make up before we go to bed thing, because a fight with me will carry me over to the next day, and it's really hard for me to be happy on Daily Pop whenever I'm sitting there still thinking about how mad I am at you or hurt I am because of our fight or whatever. Like those things really linger with me. So like having peace at home, having peace like within my family is like extremely important to me. And just being like there for my kids is number one. And then the other thing is like I just, my other values is just like, I don't know, enjoying life. I feel like life is like so short, and enjoying the ride. I mean, I definitely have goals for the future and I look forward to them, but I'm really about like where are we at today? What's happening today? How am I going to make today great? And I get really mad at myself when I'm like really hungover, like last Saturday, and I wasted an entire day because I just can't get out of bed because I'm such a headache.
Okay, well, first of all, Carissa, you are entitled to have. I know I've never been drunk before, so you having a hungover day is okay. You drink on my behalf.
Before?
No, I know. Look, I'm basic.
Good for you. I am very proud of you, but not like college.
No. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. My parents are hyper strict, and I was on like this teen show that was all about like not doing drugs and staying. I walked the walk, so I was like, "You're not going to catch me at a party.
Gotcha.
You're not going to get me. You're not going to get me all TMZ'd."
Okay, I gotcha. And this kind of stuff. Well, I'm kind of like that with weed. I've never smoked weed in like all of this time.
I can't say that.
There you go. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, you live in LA and you never smoked weed?" And I'm like, "Well, the thing is that like in high school, nobody asked me. In college, nobody thought I would, so nobody presented it to me. And then I got older and was like, why now? Who cares?" I mean,
Right.
And then now it's just like, I'm like a parent of two. I'll do it one of these days. I actually been itching to get high. But I don't know when, because when I have these things, maybe I should just start smoking. Maybe that would
It helps. Look, I'm not trying to push drugs on you, Carissa, but hey, look, whatever you got to do.
Drunk and wine, so I'm going to put that on you.
Deal. Look, I'm gonna DM you when I'm drunk. I don't know what I'm gonna say. Like, Carissa, I'm drunk. Thank you so much for being my pusher. Thank you so much. But hey, listen. First of all, thank you so much for being on my show today. One, this is my season 2 finale. I'm glad I ended it with you. It's such an honor. 2, you are so much more than what you do every day. You're an incredible woman. You're so fucking talented, and I know everyone watching enjoys watching you. I look forward daily to watching Daily Pop. So thank you for your gifts that you share of the world and how you enrich people's lives, especially this year in quarantine when we've needed it now more than ever. When you came back, I was like, oh my God, it felt like a family member was returning. So thank you.
You're such
Absolutely.
A sweetheart. And
I mean it.
Taking the time to like interview me and like looking at my story, all this interview prep you did. I'm so impressed with you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, you deserve a great interview because you give so many great interviews to other people. And lastly, all the best. The sky's the limit for you, and we're so excited to see what's next for you. And congratulations on the beautiful family. You just keep on killing it, Carissa. You're doing a good job. You're doing great, honey.
Thanks, honey. I just keep shooting for pretty good.
Bro, whatever. I try to quote Mean Girls. I don't know. Like, I think that's the quote. Okay, I go.
I'm gonna go get drunk. I'm gonna go get high. And tuning in are like, what?
I know. I go ahead and go on with your day, Carissa. Talk to you soon, and thanks for being on Jasonunleashed. I'll see you around. Bye.
Bye.